A number of long-forgotten Swiss watch brands are making a return. Universal Genève and Gallet are coming back under the direction of Breitling. Favre-Luba has recently relaunched, and now it's the turn of MONCEAU. After more than 4 decades, MONCEAU is back with this integrated bracelet-style sports watch. At 39mm, the stainless steel case is sized in the sweet spot for most wrists, and, with a short lug-to-lug distance of less than 45mm, where most integrated bracelet designs tend to wear larger, this one bucks a trend, and wears well even on smaller wrists like mine. It's also thin. I mean, really thin. The case measures just 8.4mm thick, and it's 10.2mm in total, including this box sapphire crystal. That case is nicely sculpted. It's mostly brushed, but there are these wide, polished flanks that also flow down the sides of the H-link bracelet. That bracelet articulates really nicely and is closed with a folding clasp with on-the-fly micro-adjustment. I said that this is an integrated bracelet-style design, because while the case and bracelet appear to be paired almost seamlessly, these clever quick-release end links allow it to be swapped out for a conventional strap in just a few seconds, and completely tool-free. This contoured dial is inspired by sand dunes, and those ridges really play with the light. And when the lights go down, the indices, which are made from solid blocks of loom, well, they really light up. The Model 1 is powered by a Swiss-made Sellita SW210-1 hand-winding movement, which is visible through this exhibition case back. These are prototypes, and they have the standard version of the caliber, but the final production pieces will have the more accurate and more highly decorated elaborate grade, which is usually only found in watches priced well beyond this. The Model 1 will be available from Kickstarter for £679, which is almost 30% less than the expected RRP. Early bird discounts will be available during the first 24 to 48 hours of the Kickstarter campaign, which is launching on the 30th of May and runs until the 15th of June. Now, I might be a little biased, because this MONCEAU Model 1 is my watch. Now, I don't mean that I bought it. I mean, I designed it. Now, as some of you may know from watching my other videos, I've spent my career, around 30 years, as a designer working in the creative industries. I think almost every watch collector, watch enthusiast, dreams at some point or another of designing their own watch. But when you are a designer, that burning desire is really hard to ignore. And creating this little watch is one of the biggest things that I've ever done. I've spent the last 15 months of my life working on this, from creating the initial designs, to sourcing suppliers for cases, bracelets, movements, and then trying to find people who would be willing to invest in order to help me raise the funds for the R&D. I mean, the tooling and the research and development costs are incredibly expensive. I have to say that some of my initial designs were actually pretty awful, but I started looking at some of the modern and vintage designs that really excite me, and they served as a huge source of inspiration. I'm sure that some of you will have recognised that there's quite a lot of Zenith Defy in the case and the bracelet, and also some influences from Chapek too. But I feel that I've taken those sources of inspiration and built on them to create something that is mine. When it comes to the dial, well, I've always loved the textured dials that you see on the likes of Grand Seiko. And like them, I turned to nature for my source of inspiration. And it was actually one day walking on a beach and seeing the patterns, the ripples in the sand that gave me the idea for this contoured dial. Now, around the same time that I started sketching my initial designs and ideas, I was also very much getting into vintage watches, and I was looking at adding 1 or 2 to my own collection. And I was on one of the auction sites one day, just browsing, and I came across a 1960s design, and the name on the dial was MONCEAU. Now, MONCEAU wasn't a name that I was familiar with, but it really piqued my interest, and I fell down a bit of a rabbit hole in the following weeks, trying to find out more about the history of the brand. I eventually discovered that MONCEAU had disappeared around the early 1970s, about the same time that I was born. And I think they were just another victim of the quartz crisis. Whether you believe in fate or not, well, I don't know. But something seemed to be telling me that I should bring back the brand. But of course, if you're going to revive a Swiss brand, then the watches have got to be Swiss-made. So I'm in Switzerland, and I'm here visiting some of my suppliers. And this company behind me are going to manufacture some of the components and do the final assembly and quality control of the watches. Now, they have a fantastic reputation. They do a lot of assembly and manufacturing for many of the brands that you'll be familiar with. But because all of that has to be kept secret squirrel, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to take you guys in with me. Now, I really hope that you love the Model 1 as much as I do. And I'd love it if you would come on this journey with me to bring back the MONCEAU name for generations of watch collectors to come by being one of the first to own a MONCEAU Model 1. There's a choice of 4 dial colours available. There's this Icelandic black, there's an Antarctic white, and there are 2 fume dials. One is grey, and then there's a really stunning red. Now, there are going to be a few small changes between these prototypes and the final production pieces. Now, one of them is a really big improvement. You see, these prototypes use the standard SW210-1. However, the final production pieces will use the elaborate grade version of that movement. It features a much higher level of decoration, including rhodium-plated bridges and Côte de Genève finishing. You'll typically only find the elaborate grade in watches costing well over £1,000 or $1,300. So I'm really pleased that I can use it in this, at the price point that it's launching at. Also, the crown on these prototypes is just ever so slightly sharp, so that's going to be redesigned. Finally, the text on the dial is just a little small, so that's going to be slightly enlarged. You know, one of the hardest things when you're designing a watch, and it's something that Sylvain Berneron said to me, and it's so true, is that 1mm is like a football field. So trying to get everything in the right proportions can take a little bit of practice. Also, the lume on the hands isn't quite as bright as on the indices, so lume lovers will be very pleased to know that that's going to get beefed up a little bit. The Kickstarter campaign and pre-order window will be going live in just a few days. Anyone who backs the project and places a pre-order within the first 24 to 48 hours will take advantage of some fantastic early bird offers, which make this Model 1 super affordable. So that you don't miss out on these offers, head over to the MONCEAU website at monceuwatches.com. I'll also put a link in the description. And if you sign up there, you'll get an email reminder just before the campaign goes live. In the meantime, do comment below and tell me what you think of the watch. I mean, all feedback is gratefully accepted, although please try not to be mean or I might cry. And if you can share this video with any of your fellow watch collectors and friends, you know, I'd be hugely grateful. And guys, I know this hasn't been my usual kind of watch review, but thank you for getting this far. And I'll see you on the next one.